I think that's a game that's enhanced for being longer. It's that sort of game. You're supposed to get into this person's skin and go on a journey with them, and especially breaking it up into different areas like moon, land, and the first bit where each area feels so separate and distinct for each other, and each area probably takes 20 hours or 25 hours or whatever. And that's actually really cool. That's a nice way of doing things. But something like Spider-Man or like Indiana Jones or Uncharted or whatever, I think it's just really fun just to drop into one of these games, characters for like 10, 15, 20 hours and just say, okay, give me adventure A through B through C, and then we're done.
Like Skyrim, where it's like, I can do this story arc, and the story arc, if I just devote all my attention to just that, is 15, 20 hours. And then I can just pay attention to a completely different story arc. And that'll be like, you know, the next session when I sit down to play, I'll focus on that. So I definitely see the appeal of that, but I also I knew I was going to like Baldur's Gate. So it got a pass.
Swap Baldur's Gate in my case for Final Fantasy Rebirth, or swap it for Death Stranding, or swap it for Expedition 33. I'm like, yeah, it's much more than 30 hours, but I really don't care that it is good. I'm glad it's not done. So there's games to whom that general rule definitely don't apply.
Baldur's Gate 3 suffers from when you've played it and the more you know about it. Unless you're the type of person that says, you know what, I can play a clean playthrough in 30 hours or 20 hours or whatever, but I'm going to miss out on this weapon if I don't go to this area. And then since I'm there, I might as well, since I know about it, I could go over here. And since I'm there, I might as well just do this, and that'll give me the XP I need. So then that's what it suffers from. And so even if you get good at the game and you know it really well, you suffer from like, do I want to sink 80 hours into this game again?
I think it suffers directly as well, though, because it's the kind of game that I feel it's attracting the kind of gamer who's probably wants to be more invested in this for a long time, who probably wants to min-max a little bit because of the dice rolling taking place back and forth.
The meta.
It's very much the strategy over skill-based kind of gameplay.
I have no problems walking away from a game that's like, no, I'm good. I'm at 99%. I'm fine. I finished it.
I think 99 I'd struggle.
That's where Velgard sits right now.
Before we begin, the Gamers Advocate would like to remind you that any episode could contain game spoilers, so watch or listen with discretion. And now your hosts, AM Komnenos, Banana, and Legion. Enjoy the show.
The events of Baldur's Gate 1 and 2 kind of showcase that Edwin has a bit of an ego problem, and he's very capable, but if he were to get his ego under check, he would be much more capable. I think that would have been a great kind of continuation of his story, to say that he is now still kind of operating behind the scenes and still working to grow his power, but he's not as flamboyant or attention grabbing as he used to be, and that's probably why he's still alive.
Right. Yeah, I mean, Edwin's big thing is he wanted to live. I mean, it was there, Larian. It was there. And so, like I said, when we're connecting things and not connecting things, I was convinced that was Edwin.
Before that would have been a really nice
Act 1, I was thinking that's Edwin. Mm-hmm.
Especially with the characters they did carry over. Jaheira, Minsk was one they had to do some extra legwork to bring into this era 100 years later. They did. It makes sense. I feel like less effort was needed to bring Edwin into this environment, and they didn't do that. But it would have been really nice. And you could have downplayed Viconia because you really messed her up. It's not the Viconia I remember.
Yeah, I could even see Aerie there because of her debilitation.
Mm-hmm.
Baldur's Gate is the perfect cosmopolitan city, unlike places like Waterdeep or any place like that, because they're a little bit more. She wouldn't be comfortable in a city like that, but Baldur's Gate, at least she could be somewhere there.
Mm-hmm. I mean, there's even a circus.
Yeah. Not that I'd put her in the circus, but I know. Yeah, I know. Oh, and put Quill. Oh my God.
Well, no, I mean, it could have been even more understandable if you encounter Eri and she's protesting the circus or something like that.
Wow, you're a genius. That would have been great. Wow. And then she takes over the dog area because...
Oh, yeah. See, that would work wonderfully. Just, I mean, I love that that little sequence exists where you can be like, oh, you're the people who trained Scratch. Oh, you're not cool at all. Yeah, no, I'm gonna shut this down because I have that kind of authority because of the weapons I'm carrying. Yeah, you don't own this dog training facility anymore. He does. And I'll see you later.
Yeah, and he's just like the assistant guy. He's like,
yeah,
you can put me in charge? No, we're gonna put Eri in charge.
Yeah.
That works.
Oh yeah, that would have been great to have that little connection of like that added benefit of somebody you actually have more information about, somebody you know is kind-hearted and would generally run this place the way you want it to be run. Yeah, that would have been wonderful.
How about this? We're making up plot holes already. We have Eri protesting the circus, but really she's saying, look, I've been talking to one of the carnival guys, and he's taken some of the dogs that are good creatures, but he took them in some portal or another, and they're lost in that portal. And it's your job to figure out how to get through that portal, which is that Jurassic Park area. Yeah.
I mean, I definitely feel like that interaction you have with the Jinn who sends you into that kind of prehistoric era, there was a missed opportunity there because you never really
it's just
you never really get an explanation of how that happened or where you even went. You're just like, yeah, I got a cool new trident, and also not able to confront the genie about this at all. He's just like, yeah, how did you like that? But I can't. If I attack him, everybody gets upset. Meanwhile, he just tried to kill me.
Yeah. So that's why I was saying, if they could connect that, and then Eri would become, and she gets those dogs back, and now she's perfect.
Yeah.
All the ties,
Larian, if you need writers for your next game.
Yeah. Hey, listen to my latest video. I have some beautiful wording, if I don't say so myself. Very flowery. I always have to do this like narrative storytelling because unlike and I love other lore channels, so it's not a criticism at all. I listen to a lot of lore channels. But a lot of it's just facts. It's fact this, fact that, fact whatever. And it's great. But I like to contextualize that lore. I like to say why these people did what they did. And yes, a lot of those channels include some of that, but mine is like part of their story. This is their journey. This is how we got from point A to point B and why we even wanted to do it, even though it may have been against our nature. So I like connecting those dots. And that does require a little bit of things that may not necessarily be in the game, but I'm always, but it's kind of like telling the story as if you were a player character. So I like doing that. My wife did the narration for Viconia last time, so I had a ready-made situation there. But
yeah, probably a good call not trying to do your own female voices.
Yeah.
Not that I have any experience with that.
But you don't give yourself credit because I don't think you try to sell the voice. That's where I would be problematic with doing.
Oh yeah, I think when it came to doing voices for characters that I just knew the voice wasn't going to work out, I was like, well, I'll just let it suck. And people can recognize that like there was no right way to do this.
Yeah.
I'll just do it the wrong way for a little bit and we'll move on.
Oh, Morbo.
Yeah.
For the longest time, I didn't know who Morbo was. Then I realized I had to go back and say, oh, he created the character Morbo. I was like, who's this Morbo? Yeah. Why are we always talking to Morbo?
It is funny because the War of the Lions, the edition I'm playing on PSP, has cutscenes that weren't in the original game. And there's voice acting in those cutscenes. And they use the character's real name, Ramza, in those cutscenes, and I have to be like, no, my name's Morbo. Who are you talking to?
Razimuth, what?
Yeah.
But no, Sorcerer's Sundries, I get it because coming full circle, I think Larry made an executive decision because if you have a tower, you're going to have to put stuff in it.
Mhm.
And then, like you said, it's probably somebody else is taking it over, or even if they haven't, it's probably not going to be used for anything good.
Mhm.
It's going to be a disuse or something has crept in, a lich, something. So
Yeah, nothing you want in your city.
yeah, nothing.
That's for sure.
Nothing that you want to accidentally stumble across when you should have quick saved before. But whatever. I'm the save scum king. Don't even come at me. But yeah, I think they made an executive decision to say we're going to combine the two, because otherwise we're going to have to populate an entire separate tower for that issue. And so I think just combining them together helped them tell that story, because Sorcerer's Sundries is already it's not a big area. It just has a second floor full of mages that want to take you out, but that has all these books. And so in my mind, I go back to the mind's eye. In my mind's eye, I saw the Sorcerer's Sundries because they had all this magical stuff they could sell you, and the spells. They had every single spell you could think of. Oh, this place is a place to remember. And so they made it like that in Baldur's Gate 3. So that's what I really appreciated.
I think they also did a good job of migrating that to Baldur's Gate 3, where, in Baldur's Gate 1, you go upstairs and there are just people, freely roaming the second floor, and you get into a confrontation with them. But like, thinking of what is stored in Sorcerer's Sundries, you probably don't want people just unsupervised wandering around the stock. And you don't get that in Baldur's Gate 3. Like, it's tough to get somewhere where people aren't watching you. And I mean, there's even story that requires you to kind of figure that out for yourself, to be one of those, that's stealing from this organization in an environment where, like, they have a lot of incentive to stop you.
Yeah. I also like the stained glass. They kept that the same, because when you go into Baldur's Gate 1, it kind of stood out as a building. It didn't look like any other building in the game.
Yeah, it was. I mean, especially in Baldur's Gate, there's not too many vibrant colors as you travel throughout the Sword Coast. So when you get to Baldur's Gate and there's this big building with huge stained glass windows and there's suddenly this burst of color, it really stands out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and then it's kind of like a tall. Yeah, it looks great. Yeah, it looks amazing. And I can't say enough about Elf Song Tavern. I love the original Elf Song Tavern. It was just, there's so much going on in that place. And then when you did what you got to do with the Thieves Guild and all that other stuff, it was just neat. It was always really neat. That's where you met one of the funniest. I recorded it one time. You run across this guy who's upset at the Iron Throne, and it's in Baldur's Gate. The Iron Throne is this collective group of dukes who have trying to take over. Basically, they have all the iron. It's not that big of a leap of what they're trying to do, because in Baldur's Gate 1, all the iron is tainted. And so you have to, they've been hoarding the good iron. So they're the Iron Throne. Wow. There's your connection. But yeah, this guy, he's like, I hates the Iron Throne. They took my job. They took my wife.
Yeah, I remember you recording that guy.
That was one of the funniest things. I didn't remember that until I recorded that. I was like, I don't remember this guy, but the lines were funny. So, but the Elf Song Tavern has a lot of life in it. It has a lot of characters in it. And then the Baldur's Gate 3, you go to each table. Now, not everything is a great conversation, but there are those moments. You talk to some people that are just true adventurers. You talk to some people that are just locals. They definitely gave it some flavor that ordinarily any other game would have been And now Baldur's Gate 1 did this too, though, because you talk to some people that like, oh, I became the owner of this place instead of just like a random wandering NPC. And then you'll talk in Baldur's Gate 3, like I said, they give some randomness to the customers there. Not random in that every time you play the game, it's different, but they added variety, I guess is a better way of saying that. And then when you rest in Baldur's Gate, it's the Elfsong Tavern. So I think it's pretty appropriate. So
yeah, there were definitely some carryovers, and the the positioning of them in Baldur's Gate 3 a little confusing, because you have that kind of 9-element grid from Baldur's Gate 1. You know exactly where everything is, and if you've played it as much as Legion and I have, you're very familiar with the layout of the city from Baldur's Gate 1, and it's not maintained in Baldur's Gate 3. But it worked. It felt like a city, I guess, in Baldur's Gate 3. So like I didn't have a problem with them rearranging things. I think the only real like issue I had with the layout of the city in Baldur's Gate 3 was there are a lot of buildings that kind of could be landmarks that are not visibly identified on the map. So like there are various stores around Baldur's Gate. There's a general goods store that's like right in the center of a lot of things, but if you look on the map, it's not labeled at all. It's just kind of another building. And I think that would have been a little more helpful if they let you view those landmarks, or if they were like built into the map. You didn't have to place like a marker that says like, oh, this is whatever. I can't remember the name of it. Something B General Goods Store. That's a good landmark to have to know like, oh, there was some stuff going on around there. I have some side quests that'll lead me back to that area. I love fast travel points, so 3 or 4 more of those scattered around the city would have been appreciated. But overall, I still really enjoyed it. I thought it was really well done. I thought it was connected to the first 2 games.
yeah, the Blushing Mermaid, of course, is very different. The Blushing Mermaid, if I remember right, now I'm starting to question myself, was the headquarters for the Thieves Guild, right, in Baldur's Gate 1?
I think so.
I'll go back and look. But it wasn't that big of a deal.
Or was it?
So.
There was one that was just like Kyrie's Inn or something like that.
Yeah.
It was like a K name, and it was their inn.
Yeah.
And then there were 4 entrances into the Thieves Guild surrounding that building.
Right.
So that might have been it, but like I can't remember.
Yeah. But that's kind of the Blushing Mermaid has all these like little extra places within the Blushing Mermaid. When you play the game, you realize that it actually takes you like, oh, there's this underground area or this or that. So, and then you can like get on top of the ship. It's pretty neat.
Yeah.
I went up to the very top of it, and then I let go of some fireworks. It was a pretty good scene.
Yeah, there was definitely a lot of that in Baldur's Gate 3, where it was like just exploring the structure felt fun. Like just the half of a ship hanging out of the front of this building that is now kind of like a patio for outdoor seating for the tavern. I thought that was so cool. That's such like a neat idea. It'd be fun to just kind of explore that.
Yeah, there was a lot of wine in this game, in Baldur's Gate 3. A lot more than I was expecting, because you even run across it in Act 1 where the carts are turned over and stuff, and where the knolls are, there's like wine barrels and stuff. And they were going to Baldur's Gate. And then when you get to Baldur's Gate, there's all these places that have like casks of wine, just tons of it. And I get it because it's a port city and they get a lot of like exotics from time to time, but it seems like they really love their wine there. And I never really saw a real lore connection there, but I was forced to kind of make it because it's everywhere.
I mean, how else are you going to deal with your problems? Baldur's Gate's got problems.
I expected at like some of the inns, like the Blushy Mermaid and the Elf Song Tavern and whatnot, just because they're inns, right? But like it seems like it's everywhere. Like there's even like a little town. There's a little it's a specific wine place where they were having like some little mini celebration, like it was a grand opening or something like that, and it's where one of the murders was going to take place.
Yeah, you can confront the poisoner by like sniffing the wine and warning the target ahead of time, and it initiates this little conflict. But yeah, there are a lot of little places, like little drinking spots. There's a shop along the coast. I want to say it's near Mystic Carrion's Manor, whatever that place is called. There's just a dude, a very unfriendly bartender in there who's like, "Do you want to buy some booze? All right, get out." Like that's it. That's his whole deal. He sells alcohol. He has no money. So if you try to sell him anything, it's not going to work out. You have to buy from him first.
Yeah, I know which one you're talking about. It's actually just to the left of the Blushy Mermaid. And what's neat about it is that it has a second floor and a whole menu thing. So you can sit down like you're going to have lunch there. But then downstairs there's this bartender who's just mean.
Yeah. It's just a terrible bartender. And weirdly, his bar isn't making any money.
Yeah. And I was a rogue and I didn't know how to play any kind of music. So I started playing my lute and he was just like, "This is the worst. Get out of here."
I do love that you could just choose to play badly.
Mm-hmm. There is actually a secret bar in the Thieves Guild. I've shown that in one of my, of course I did, right? I did a tavern pub crawl for Baldur's Gate video.
Yep.
And one of them, I did it specifically because I don't think a lot of people know about that hidden tavern in the Thieves Guild. Mm-hmm. And they have some really interesting things there. And I thought that one was very, very close to the spirit of the original Baldur's Gate when I was thinking of the Thieves Guild, specifically Baldur's Gate 2, but Baldur's Gate 1 works too. I mean, because, but when I went there into the Thieves Guild, the secret underground area, in my mind, I had Baldur's Gate 2 in my head, but Baldur's Gate 1 works. I'm glad it's in this one.
I definitely feel like the Thieves Guild is one of those things, my first playthrough, I didn't investigate enough. And I've kind of recently gone back and done a much more thorough investigation of Act 3. So I got to kind of explore what's going on with the Thieves Guild and dig into the story surrounding them. But yeah, like there's a lot to appreciate about that area, about those characters, the history that Nine Fingers has with Jaheira and Minsk. Like they really kind of brought in some things from the original games in a way that still made for an entertaining kind of entry in Baldur's Gate 3, but did connect them to the originals, which is, I mean, I think that's probably a really difficult feat to accomplish with a new entry in a series, especially if it's 25 years later.
Yeah. Things that really weren't connected, but they went and made a connection to the series was things like vampires. You didn't really have vampires in Baldur's Gate 1, you know? Mm-hmm. They were more of a Baldur's Gate 2 thing, but they're all, well, I wouldn't say they're with you all the time because of Astarion, but but they seem to be more of a thing in Baldur's Gate. I'm like, I don't remember any vampires in Baldur's Gate, but that's all right. Make it work.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember any in Baldur's Gate 1. They're featured in Baldur's Gate 2. They're a big deal. And I think actually Minsk's favored enemy transitions to vampires in Baldur's Gate 2. Because in Baldur's Gate 1, I think his favored enemy is gnolls, which makes a lot of sense. And then there aren't as many gnolls in Baldur's Gate 2. There are a lot more vampires. So yeah, it kind of makes sense that he would transition there. But yeah, I think I think vampires are kind of a fantasy staple that would have worked well in Baldur's Gate. So they don't need a connection there, but knowing that they played a big part in Baldur's Gate 2 kind of.
Yeah, and it's real easy for Larian to say you didn't see them in Baldur's Gate 1 because you're too low level. You wouldn't have detected them.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I think the fact that you meet 2 vampire thralls at Worm's Gate, like they're in the city. People don't know they're there. You wouldn't know they were vampire thralls if not for Astarion telling you he knows them. Like, it makes a lot of sense to say that, like, yeah, they didn't play a big part in Baldur's Gate 1, but they were definitely there. You just didn't have a confrontation with them because they operate in the shadows.
Yeah, like you said, it's another experience that you get on Worms Crossing. I just love that place. It is I don't know if it's my favorite place in Baldur's Gate 3's Act 3, but it's pretty close. I can't think of one off the top of my head that I liked better as an area.
Yeah, no, I think especially given that, like, its connections to the main story, I think they did really, really well with Worm's Gate.
Yeah, they could have like done like the original game and just put nothing there and says there was nothing there. We're good.
Yeah.
But yeah, they kind of went with the lore. Like it crosses a very important river, the River Chanthar, and that people are going to flock to this area. It's a special area. So yeah. And then, like I mentioned the Elf Song Tavern before, I'm going to come back to that because I love it so much. But yeah, there's no, every place you go to, they have, like, even the Blushy Mermaid has their own little, like, musician guy. He has a stage and stuff. You go to the one that's on Worms Crossing, that tavern place, he's got his own stage and everything. The Elf Song Tavern does not have a musician because the elf that is supposedly a ghost is the only one allowed to make music there. And when you meet Alfira, she lives and you do her stuff and you go through Act 2 and again, she lives. You meet her again in Act 3 and she's on the roof because she met what she wanted to do. She wanted to be, to make it to Baldur's Gate 3 and become a musician there, a bard. And she can't play in the elf song. She respects it. So she plays on the roof. It's such a nice little touch. Like they knew what they were talking about. They kept the lore consistent with the original game. So
yeah. And I think that's that ties back to what we said in our discussion of lore, is when you get a game like this where people are coming back into a series, a long-standing series that people had a lot of appreciation for, you see the appreciation that the developers had for the originals in their attention to detail in the game they created and things like that, to say that, like, yeah, we get the appeal of the Elf Song Tavern. It had this kind of story element to its own kind of existence. There was something interesting inherently about this place, and we're not just going to throw that aside because it didn't play a huge role in the main story. I think that's definitely, it resonates with your audience when you can say we appreciate the same things about these games that you do.
they needed a dwarf companion. Dwarves are completely absent from what we were doing. And even if it was a gnome companion, I could argue, like, we needed something that wasn't like a human-sized companion.
Yeah, they I feel like with the options you had available, and admittedly there aren't that many races in BG3, but, like, why not have a companion of each race?
Yeah. Or at least just a halflings of some kind.
Yeah. I mean, they were infrequent in Baldur's Gate 1 and 2, which had way more companions.
Yeah.
There's what? Mazzy, Jan Janssen.
In the dwarves, you had Kaken.
Yeah, you had dwarf companions. Not too many gnomes or halflings.
No, but that's what I'm saying. Somebody who wasn't like our size. So
yeah, and the complete lack of gnome, halfling, and dwarf companions in BG3 like really stands out, especially with the items that you get that provide specific bonuses based on race. The dwarven thrower, you don't have a dwarf companion, so unless your character is a dwarf, that's useless. The nimble fingered gloves provide bonuses for gnomes and halflings, and I think dwarves. You don't get any of those companions, so unless your character is one of those, nobody gets that bonus. It just feels like a wasted opportunity.
Well, that one character that you run into that's on the windmill, huge arc, huge arc. I was not expecting him to have the big arc that he had, and I'm glad for it because he's one that deserves a lore video, honestly. But because everybody knows him and they kind of see the tree, but they don't realize how deep that tree goes. But he would have been a good one to pick up at some point because he does make it to your camp. But then he has a spouse. So I guess you really couldn't make him a companion because then he's kind of like tied to that issue. But they didn't have to write that in.
Yeah, there was definitely a way to make him a companion. I will say, given when you were able to recruit him, I don't know that I would have appreciated it if that was the first time he became playable. Like if you were able to recruit him in Act 1, and you're saying like, oh, we intend to go to Baldur's Gate as well, join us, that would have been fine. But I'm not a huge fan of these, like, the companions that you can recruit later and later in the game. Like getting Halsey is late, getting Jaheira is late, getting Minsk is extremely late. I feel like you handcuff yourself with the things you can do with a character when they are introduced to the team so much later.
Yeah, but you can get him in Act 2. That's what I'm saying. He goes to your camp as early as Act 2 and middle of Act 2. So it's right there. Yeah. I mean, I know what you're saying, but you know, more is always good. give me the variety.
Yeah, and I think that's probably why we didn't see these other companions, these other playable characters in you know, dwarf and halfling and gnome races, is because Larian did a good job with the characters they had. They really invested in creating a separate story for each of them. For them to add another character would have been a lot more work. They could have done it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because he's ready made for it. He already has a deep story. Yeah. That's my point. He's got the deep story. All they had to do is weave him into you talking to him, and we're done because he doesn't need much more than what they did.
Yeah. Yeah, and I agree completely. I just I imagine Larian might have looked at that and said, like, we have to make his story a little more connected to the main character. And I don't know that you really needed to do that, but like I feel like they established kind of a standard with all of their other companions where you were much more involved in their progression.
And see, the thing is, I didn't dislike him like Quail or Jan Janssen, none of them. Mm-hmm. He's standoffish, but he knows who he is, and he's very confident. I thoroughly enjoyed him completely.
Oh yeah, a non-confrontational, confident character is very likable to me. The idea that like this is somebody who knows where their priorities are, knows what they're good at, knows, you know, and is confident in the things they are certain of, but is not going to kind of speak over other people. They're going to give them the opportunity to speak their mind and actually listen to them. That's an immediately likable trait in a person, and Barkus has that, and it does feel like he was more involved or more developed than a non-player character needed to be. So he easily could have transitioned to player character pretty easily.
Yeah, because the one we've been talking about, he's humble enough to also realize his limitations. He knows he can't do some things, even though he's very capable. So he treats that part with respect. He doesn't respect you necessarily unless you prove a few things to him, but he's also used to people, you know, taking advantage of him. Mm-hmm. So, oh my goodness. The more I think about it, the more I get pissed off about this. I don't even think about this. Should have made him a playable character. I mean, a companion, for sure.
Yep. Yeah, I agree. I mean, especially just with, our appreciation of Baldur's Gate 1 and 2, the companions were a huge part of that, and there were a lot of them.
Yeah. I mean, because think about
More is better when you do them the way Larian did.
Yeah. But you'll sometimes have those companions that have like an interesting little thing to say because clearly, like if you go into Gortash's area and you're with Karlach, you're going to get a special interaction. If you go in there with Will, you're going to get a special reaction. I mean, granted, he wouldn't have a ton of those, but he would be neat to kind of go into like the Temple of Umberlee with. He'd be like, man, I don't like it here.
Yeah.
What is it? I don't know. I just don't like it.
Those dresses are nice, but that's about all this place has going for it.
Temptation of the flesh, but I don't know. I don't trust it. I don't like it. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I do think he had that kind of, I guess like a bluntness in what he said that would have made for some great banter like that. Some things where he's just not willing to pull his punches and he's like, yeah, I hate this place. I think we should leave.
Yeah, because then when you start talking to the, what are they called? The deep gnomes. You start talking to them in the city and then talk about their plan and how they want you can execute their plan. I mean, he would have a lot to say about that. So he does have a lot to say about it, actually. But,
yeah.
Oh man, I need to stop thinking about it. Now it's pissing me off.
The way Larian did all of their companions makes me want more companions, because they did a good job with the ones that they had that I would have liked to have seen them expand a little more and do the same thing with other people, other characters that already have kind of the foundation for a story.
But I don't think they needed to do that necessarily with him, because anytime you introduce a character halfway through the game, I think you're going to be given a free pass on some things. I don't think they had to do that. And I get it. It's like, oh man, we're going to add another companion. Where we're going to put him. We're going to have this. We're going to have to, you're good. You're good. He walks around the camp. He can just sit around. I mean, you can give him a place if you want to, maybe, but it's not like you're reinventing the wheel here. So
if you recruit everybody that you can in a single playthrough, you have people kind of doubling up in certain camps anyway, because like you have to put in some serious effort to recruit Minthara and Halsin at the same time, and you'll find them standing in front of the same tent a lot.
Which I have a guide for, and you can watch it on YouTube.
Yeah.
You don't have to go through all the rigmarole that I did at the time. There's a little bit easier way to do it now, but at the time, my guide was pretty relevant, and other people had made a similar guide, but mine's doing pretty well. I think I got 78,000 views so far.
Wow.
I'd have to go back and look. I don't know.
I haven't watched it.
Yeah, it's not a short video. That's the difference. That's what I'm saying. A lot of people would be like, "Oh, you just do this," but then I would watch them and I was like, I still don't really know the sequence here. I did this whole thing with the story to kind of say this is how you make those people do that. Like Halsin, because I'm a drow in that playthrough, and I'm talking to Halsin, and I'm telling Halsin, because you have like this line that says, "You want me to go kill a drow? I mean, what do you?" And he says, "You drow relish in backstabbing each other." And I'm like, yeah, you really know me. Actually, Halsin, right. You got a point.
Yeah.
So that's the kind of stuff I added in because it made sense for you to kind of like see the connections of why some things may be a little bit more organic and why you'd want to do them.
And yeah, I also feel like that gives you, because the steps you need to go through in order to recruit Minthara don't feel like things you would naturally think of unless you know she's a recruitable ally. So I think even that, just playing as a drow, giving you one little reason to knock her out instead of just outright killing her, that's enough. That's enough to be like, oh, well, I investigated just knocking her out instead of delivering that killing blow and stealing her parasite. And then things happened in Act 2, and now she's in my team.
Really what Larian should have done, just to make this super simple, was basically if you fight her, you have an option at the very end, like you have with Vaconia. Like you can land the killing blow, but it goes to a cutscene. And so your cutscene would be option to kill her, tie her up, take her hostage to your thing. But since you take her to the camp, now the box is blocking her ability to be manipulated. Suddenly you can have a conversation with her. Now you get a second choice. So that would have been great. That would have just been a real easy, natural way for Larry to just cut all the BS and make it work.
And then there's less likelihood that you accidentally leave her naked pleading for her life in Moonrise Tower because you looted the body and nobody gave her clothes afterwards.
Accidentally.
I'm just saying, in that situation, it did not occur to me that I would see this character again and they would have the same clothes I left them with, which is none, because I looted all of the stuff that I could from them. And then they are standing in front of Ketherick pleading for their life with no clothing.
I can say in good faith, as a good Sith, that's an oxymoron, right? As a good Sith, I knew this. I did it anyway. I recorded it and I posted it on YouTube.
Yep.
So, you know, what can I say?
It was just one of those things. I think playing in a co-op playthrough and doing this, I always feel the need to mention that, like, all right, before you loot the body, if you take her armor off, she is just naked in the next scene you see her in, just as a heads up.
And I'll be honest with you, I don't think so anymore. I think they fixed that. So now if you do that, she'll actually show up with minimal rags or something, like undergarment stuff.
Okay.
I
haven't
camp
done
gear,
it.
I think. So
that was the thing. She also has cool camp gear that you can loot from her in that moment.
Yeah. But I think
So,
it defaults to like rags or something like that. So
yeah, you can see after that first experience, I was like, well, I don't want to do that anymore because that was like, it felt cruel. let's not. And as a result, I don't know about the.
This is why I tell people, if you're going to do YouTube, just do it. Don't even overthink it. Don't worry about it. Because my, by far, best video was a whim. I was talking about it for a very long time when I would do like live streams or something. I was like, you know what? I need to make a video of that, because I would verbalize it. I would talk it out. I was like, I don't think, and then I would see that other people had done something similar. I said, but I can do better than that. And really, it took me 4.5 hours to do. It took me longer to like actually compile some of like the goofy gifs that I had on it. But that one has 403,000 views. And like I said, it was just kind of on a whim. I had a kind of an idea for it, but it kind of goes to show that sometimes you can pump out the best, because I think I put a lot of work into my videos, but you can make the best videos out there, and sometimes you just don't get traction. And then you'll make
finding your audience on YouTube is it's not the most intuitive or most logical thing. Sometimes you just got to get lucky, or sometimes you got to just make a video that you care about and put it out there, and people will find it on their own.
Yeah. And that's kind of what I was saying, is that just do it, because you never know. Sometimes you hit a gold vein and you don't know it. You don't know what's going to happen unless you actually put the effort in. So just, if you think about doing a YouTube video or something like that, it's my only advice to you is just do it. Just do it.
And if you want more tips and tricks on how to achieve YouTube success from a channel with 78 subscribers, go ahead and hit that subscribe button.
Come to our channel to find out how to be successful on YouTube. Now, the one good thing that I really appreciate about you guys is you and Com is your due diligence to want to put forth the effort, because it is sometimes a grind. Sometimes you get an audience right away and it works. I think we put out the type of podcast that I want to listen to. Very conversational. We have a lot of fun. Com is always trying to push that envelope to see, hey, look, how does this relevant to, on a different level? So I need that, because I just like talking sometimes. You do too. So,
Yeah, no, I agree, and I think like that is probably the only real advice I could offer is if you are going to get into any kind of content creation, make sure you enjoy the process at least to some degree, so that you're not focused on the result the entire time, because there's no real guarantee for achieving success to get those results. But if you enjoy making the content that you're putting out there, it's not going to matter whether or not you hit that level of success you're looking for, because you're doing something you actually enjoy. And that makes it a lot more easy for you to sustain the effort until it finds its audience.
Yeah. And it's much easier to make a video of a game like Baldur's Gate 3 that has already a huge audience, but do things that the only really great advice I can give you is do things that you love to do. Because I see it a lot, there are some channels that just love to bring up the latest gaming news that it's like, oh, they hate this or they hate that. And so you have a lot of hangers on that also agree, like, yeah, we hate that in gaming, we hate this. And everything's just a hate column. At some point, you're going to get burnt out by just talking negativity. Yeah. So sometimes you just got to be negative about something. Like I can talk about Andromeda all day, but I don't want to. And that's why I don't talk about Andromeda all day. So yeah, talk about what you love. And then the rest is just, it's like you want the job that it doesn't feel like a job.
Yeah, exactly. You don't want to turn, this fun hobby of video gaming into a job, into a responsibility, or some kind of tedious chore that you have to continuously put effort into. You want to continue enjoying it. And the easiest way to do that is focus on what you enjoy when you are kind of building off that hobby.
Yeah. And that's why I'm horrible at some titles like Velguard that come out, because I'm not going to do a review. Like, I'm not going to rank it. I'm not going to say 42 out of 56 squirrels or whatever. I don't know. I don't like that.
Where do you see video game reviews that use that scale?
That's all meaningless to me. Like 9 out of 10. What does that mean? What does it mean?
Yeah.
And I've actually seen some channels, and it's not a criticism. You, but they'll have their own ranking system that we're all supposed to somehow understand. They'll be like, oh, visual presentation. Oh, okay. 8 out of 10. And then the story, 7 out of 10. Okay, I'm with you. I'm on board. And I'm thinking, because there's like 12 categories, that we're going to do some kind of average. Oh, no, it's just a total number. So we're at 136, and then they'll do halves, 136.5. What does that mean? So
yeah,
at the end of the day, the numbers mean nothing to me. I don't like reviews that use numbers. Like, I kind of understand it, but it's like the Spinal Tap movie. It goes to 11. Yeah. But wouldn't it be better just to make it louder and it go to 10? But this goes to 11. So it's better.
Yeah.
That's the way I see it.
Say that was an issue with general video game reviews for a while, where I just remembered seeing people give like 10 out of 10 ratings, and I just remember thinking, like, I can't trust your ability to rate a game anymore, because I saw it a lot with games like Madden and FIFA and Call of Duty, where there's a new game that comes out every year or every couple of years, and it's basically the same game from a year previous with a few kind of added little touches, some polish here and there, some updates. And then people will be like, well, last year it was 10 out of 10 and this is basically the same game, so 10 out of 10. I'm like, no. Give me a review of just the new stuff. Don't give me a score based on the game it was built from. Give me a score of what makes this game a unique entry in the series. And people don't do that, I think. there are definitely some people who do. There are people out there who will provide you much more meaningful reviews, but I think generally, like, organizations that review video games are unreliable anymore.
Unfortunately, don't play a lot of games that I thoroughly enjoy the first several times I play it. Because I approach it very analytically, and it's not with any idea of like doing a review. It's not with any idea of going back later and saying, well, I played the early access back then and I see the difference now. A lot of times I just that's how I approach it, almost scientifically. And then once I know the game, then I can enjoy it. I can just kind of like, I have to build the play set well in order for me to make sure I don't hurt myself. I don't know how to put the analogy, but when I was playing Velgard, it was just I do a scene, reload, do it a different way, reload. What is the conversation if I have so-and-so talk instead of me or something? I mean, there's all these different things that you can do in a game like that I had to see all the ins and outs. And I guarantee I didn't do everything, but because when you play like that, it gets exhausting. And you have to do other things after a while. But I do like how sometimes I'm like playing something and like Farthest Frontier is one of those like cozy sim games. And I'm like, oh, I didn't know I could do that. Even though I've been doing this so many times, I didn't know I could do that in this way.
Yeah, I think there's probably some aspect to that of the like a joke is like a joke is like a dead frog. A joke is like a frog. You can open it up and figure out how it works, but it usually kills it in the process.
Yeah.
I think that's kind of the same idea. Is like when you go back and re-experience those things that have been modified with tweaks and changes and patches here and there, you're digging almost too much into the background, the functionality of the code more than the game experience, and it ruins the game, the kind of immersion that you would have, because now you're thinking about like, well, how did they implement this? How does it work behind the scenes? Because now I have to evaluate like what is going to change when I make this decision because they've updated it. So yeah, I get that.
Yeah, I have learned that I can relax better when I'm looking at, say, like a tropical fish aquarium. I found out it's probably the endorphins. So
I was totally on board when I thought you were just going to tie this into Dave the Diver. Now I'm not on board.
Oh boy.